Good morning, or good evening, or afternoon, wherever you are in the world. I'm Helena, and I wanted to share with you this day a vision that I received this morning, and some of the visions that come through are, for me, as real as the reality in which I'm speaking with you now. And it felt very pertinent and very relevant to the experiences we are going through as a collective this morning, as well as feeling very personal. So I just want to allow you to take a moment to feel in, and I take you to this place in a room, in a structure where it felt as though there was a building. And in this building, which could have been an extension to a school environment, a kindergarten, and there were plants all the way along a high bench, if you like, and there was a metaphor, it felt, as the kindergarten can be seen as two places, one for a place of learning for young souls or young children, and another for a bedding place for plants and flowers. And in my sensory state, I could hear the children in the background. I could hear them as if they were playing in a playground situation, and it was very joyful. And in the same moment, I was looking at all of these amazing, beautiful, almost bedding plants. I've actually had that experience when I was visited by Princess Diana once as well, and the way that she felt she was here to plant seeds for the next generation of children. So maybe her presence was there, and I could feel these plants, their colors, the petals of these flowers. Some of them were very fragile. Some of them were huge blooms of petals. So there was a great variety. And in some moments, I could feel the colors. I could sense the perfumes of them. There was moments where I felt to run my fingers along the top of the flowers and the petals in a very gentle way. I was aware in this moment that there was multiple realities, if you like, because in the night before, at midnight, I found myself taking a photo of the full moon because the luminescence of it was so bright in the room. I took a picture, and I understand that it's a corn moon, or the expression of it, where a harvest is made. And a harvest can be also a metaphor for reaping what you've sown and moving, into the next phase of completion of something and moving on to the next stages and steps. So I was aware of this and also feeling these beautiful sensations and tenderness from these beautiful flowers. And in the next moment, I opened some doors and I went into another room. It was a parallel room, It wasn't higher or lower, it was just a parallel room. And I walked through and I met a mature woman who was sitting on a bench or a seat, and she took this seat, and I could feel a sensation of connection with her. She was very slim. I didn't feel it was exactly me, but it personified the maturity of a woman. And at the other end of the bench or the chairs, there was a mature male as well, and I could feel his presence there in the same moment. And it felt as though I was there as an observer, and that these experiences were being shared with me, not in a voyeuristic way, more in let's share this moment together. And in the next moment, the woman, I could feel that she was able to be in touch and connected to her sensory state, and that she was able to give herself pleasure in a very physical way and in a very sensory way. And she took her space for that. She gave herself this permission, if you like, to have this sensory pleasure and physical pleasure, and felt very complete in this sensory experience. And after a few moments of absorbing and feeling these senses with her, I could see that the movie or the reality moved to the end of the bench, where the masculine presence came more forward and presented himself to the woman and had an expectation that he would have a physical experience with her, a physical one. And I remember seeing and feeling this, that she gave herself to him, and she didn't feel present in the giving state of it, but for him it was an expectation that it would be given, and that this would be taken, if you like, for his pleasure. And it was an arrangement for a long time. And I remember feeling that it didn't feel so pleasurable for her. And as this experience between them came to fruition, she stood up and she conveyed to him, and almost in a she presented it to the room as a container for this, and she expressed that she had felt violated by this taking of her sensory self, and it was something that for her it was now complete. And she said that this would be the last time that she would accept this arrangement. She explained that she was able to give herself the pleasure that she needed, whether it be a sensory or an organic or an orgasmic sense of connection. And for him, she felt that it was now his moment to receive this for himself in his own sense of connection. and she was very compassionate. She was very loving in the delivery of this, and she was very firm that this was the last time. It was complete, and for her, this arrangement would stop. Stop. And in this moment, I was able to see inside her body. She was a very slim woman, very tall. And I was able to see her bone structure actually within her body. And I could see all of this liquid formation around her bones. It was a very touching experience that to be given and allowed to see this liquidity around her bone structure. It felt a deep expression of her love for herself and her loving beingness to be able to share this. And I felt very touched, and I was able to understand where her standing point was in this completion, this acceptance, and this ability to engage in a new arrangement with herself, with her partnerships, with her boundaries, with her sovereignty, and the deep love and connection she had for her sovereignty and her divine self. And in this moment, I could, in a sound surround of a sphere, if you like, I could feel the voices of the children and the petals of the flowers and the sensory state that we are able to be in a new opening of connection and texture with ourselves, with the universe. I could feel that the children in themselves were embodying this, and they were actually carrying this consciousness and this unity within themselves. And it was represented through a kindergarten of multiple states of being and awareness. I was aware that the children are globally entering back into a school environment where perhaps their learning and their expression of life for them needs to change. And this timing is very pertinent as we go into the latter part of the year, having crossed through the summer, and for them having had experiences of isolation or being given a taste of freedom, where their learning and experiential process is able to be discovered and explored in a new way. And for each child, which also represents us as a child, in our growing up and in our maturity, growing into a more stabilized being self, where we can follow our own navigational tools, our own compass, our own sense of awareness and knowing what feels as truth to us. And maybe in other timelines before that moment, there had been a sense of over-instruction, a paralyzing of having their freedom taken away from them or being violated in their sense of allowing their empathy and their sensitivity. And this was now to change. The old way of being was now finished. It was complete. We were in transition to new stages of learning, of expression, of beingness, of giving ourselves truth, self-discovery, and the way that we communicate with each other in a loving, compassionate, sensitive way, where we have equal amounts of knowledge and wisdom to share with each other. And this feels to be a vital component for our next steps into grounding and formalizing a middle earth, a fifth dimensional earth, however you would describe it, because my sense of that and your sense of that and a child's sense of that can have a huge variety, and each is of value and each has an equal place in their voice, in their sense of being. This felt to be a very profound vision for me, and I choose to share it with people that I know. And if it feels resonant for you, there is a collective movement that we are all a part of. We are in this together, and we are grounding new ways of living and being. I am Helena, a sovereign being, aware of her own divinity, and I trust and empower that you have this available from within you. Thank you for listening. Aho.